Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Thursday, July 7th, 2016. My name is Rich, and joining me once again this week is Bijan. How you making out?
What up, man? Feeling great. Finally getting to cover Sasuke 32. I have been waiting for this for months, man.
I feel like it's been a year, right? Like we started this so shortly after the last Sasuke, and I've heard about it 1,000 times, never seen it, but we're going to cover it finally. And we've had a number of requests to do this.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, now thinking about it, this is your first Sasuke, so just let's get right into it. What did you think of this?
I really liked it. It was different. I had a few quirks, definitely a very different viewing experience because I got up super early Sunday morning to watch it live with the Sasuke Maniac forums who do this every year, which was an experience in of itself, right? There's a chat room of 100 plus people all talking as they're watching the show. And yeah, it was really cool.
It's awesome, man. I watched it a little bit later. Man, I loved everything about it. Once again, I really find Sasuke refreshing because there is such a dichotomy in terms of the tone and presentation of the show compared to the American equivalent of it. And even though they're very similar in terms of, how the format of the stages are and everything, and the obstacles, the way they present it is so different. And I really, I find it quite refreshing.
Yeah, it had a lot of similarities. Obviously, the course itself is very similar with some really notable differences. The format itself, I liked. There's a few things I liked. I liked the numbering system. I liked that you knew, this is number 37 that's running. This is number whoever. My impression is there's some weight to give into that too, right? It's like almost like an honor to go later. So I saw references to a golden competitor and things like that. I think that's is that a thing? Like the 100th competitor?
Oh, yeah. Traditionally with Sasuke, numbers 90 through 100 are the all-stars. They're the top elite athletes, right? And the number 100 is always the most honorary one given to the top-notch ninja of that particular year. Usually it's given to somebody who they think is going to be the one to win it all or whatever. But you've seen over the past few years, it's also given to people that they really find that there's kind of like the stars. Even though they're kind of past their prime, they're still the stars. Makoto Nagano, he's the end-all, be-all star of just the entire sport in general. I mean, he is my number one, I'm his biggest fan. He's the guy. When you think Sasuke, you think Makoto Nagano.
Right, and let me clarify for everyone here. So this is going to be our perspective on it. I know there are going to be some problems with what we're going to say. We're going to step on some toes. We're going to say some things wrong. This is my perspective as somebody who's never watched it before, as the general American Ninja Warrior audience coming in fresh. Bijan obviously has been watching it for years, but as a more casual fan. So what we're going to do... I
wouldn't say casual. Calm down. Come
okay,
on
sorry. I'm downplaying a little bit. But you haven't been following it the way we've been following Ninja Warrior since last year, for example.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've been watching it from day one. I can't say that I am an expert at Sasuke. I don't follow every little tidbit that's going on. But I definitely know the stories of everybody involved with the show. And... I don't know. I keep hearing rumblings that some people didn't like it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there was one big glaring issue that I had, and I think a lot of people are also going to have that issue, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify, so what we're going to do is, after Bijan and I talk, I'm going to talk to Arsenette from the Final Stage podcast to kind of provide some additional clarity on some things. She's going to listen to our conversation and provide some additional details, so just so you know that's coming as well.
Yep.
Okay, so jumping back to what we were talking about, one of the other format changes, man, they have a lot of commentators on this.
that was interesting, right? That's a big thing that they have in Japanese television in general. They have a lot of commentators. Well, I don't want to broaden it or generalize it too much, but traditionally, as compared to American television, where there's usually 2 commentators. In Japanese television, from what I've seen over the years, there's going to be a good, 7.
Okay, yeah, they don't seem to talk as much, but they're great for getting reaction shots, right? When it cuts over to them, the whole group is reacting to whatever happened.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing, too?
It's pretty cool. And the reaction shots, when somebody falls, they don't just show them fall. They show... In some cases, they would cut 5 times. They would show this competitor reacting to it, and then that group reacting to it, and different angles of the fall. I thought Ninja Warrior was bad. American Ninja Warrior was bad for that.
Mm-mm. I mean, it all depends on the level of star that there is in Sasuke, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know some we got a little more attention than others, and I don't know. Is it maybe that's the thing this year, because we were complaining through the season about some of the competitors that were cut. Even as a layman, some of the ones that were cut seemed a little odd to me.
Like? Who are you talking about?
Well, so we're really jumping ahead a little bit here, but towards the end of stage 1, like you said, the 90 through 100, I assumed were the big stars. And then they looked like they were giving a big preamble to 2 people running, and then fast forwarded them immediately. So I wrote down the names, but I'm probably going to screw them up here. It was Shingo and Takeda.
So yeah, I kind of understand. Shingo Yamamoto, he's known for being the one guy that's run every single season of Sasuke. He's known for, being a... where does he work? I believe at a gas station, right? Or something like that. A gas station manager. He always wears a backwards baseball cap. Really cool guy. You've seen him a few times on US versus the World, right? I think they skipped him just because over the past few years, he hasn't done very well. He's tended to fail quite a few times in stage 1. That's kind of his Achilles heel. So maybe it just would have been editing for time, where they give more time to... oh my god, Makoto Nagano. I'm losing my mind, dude. So maybe it's that. But with that said, I mean, they could have edited somebody earlier, right, to give them more time.
I like I said, I'm kind of asking you, I guess, if that was a thing, because it seems strange to me, because I saw these two being built up. It was almost like a fast forward that included a backstory. It was just kind of strange the way they did it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a common thing in the editing. I just don't know how they run television out there. I think there were bigger issues involved with the show. I think one big issue was how they didn't dry the course when it was clearly raining for half the staying time.
Yeah.
I had a very big issue with that.
Well, that's the big problem. I mean, anybody could see that being a problem. I actually appreciated that they even showed Drew calling them out on it. They didn't hide it entirely, because Drew just sits down and starts wiping his feet, going, it's wet. We can't run this. Yeah. It's slippery.
I felt bad because it was very clear that it really accentuated the difficulty of the course, where it was really unfair for not just Drew, but the people that ran right before Drew, right? You saw that the people that ran right before Drew, they had a really tough time on that warped wall. They were slipping all over the place, and you can hear it just on their shoes. And you'd expect that the producers would kind of get the hint, being like, yo, these guys are slipping, and they're slipping because the whole thing is covered in rainwater, but they didn't do anything for it. It was really unfortunate. I at least am happy that one of the studio heads or something, they had a representative from TBS, and not TBS in America, guys, TBS from Japan, who runs the show, read a statement. Did you notice that, Rich?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he read a statement. I obviously I don't know Japanese, but I'd have to imagine, because it happened right after Drew's run, probably an apology, and then they showed the people drying down the course, and then them shutting down, halting the course, or I guess productions of the runs till the next day. So I think that had a lot to do with it. For people that don't know about this show, by the way, Mount Midoriyama, it's actually at a certain location where it rains most of the year. It rains a good, definitely over half the year at that location. So that's one thing that they always have to watch for, is the rain, and it really played a part this particular season. I guess they tried their best, but man, I kind of feel like they could have done more.
Yeah, I don't know. It really kind of put a damper on the whole thing, both days. It wasn't even just the first day, because even when the next one was even worse in my mind, right? Watching them trying to run
yeah.
stage 3. We're jumping around a lot here.
Yeah. You want to just go from the start, like cover stage 1?
Well, let's talk about. So let's go rewinding all the way back to the beginning here. I kind of want to talk about the obstacles themselves in the course, like stage 1.
Well, before you get in, I must say, did you see kind of the difference in terms of the obstacle themes of this show compared to American Ninja Warrior? Because there is a big glaring difference.
I saw some cool obstacles. I don't know what big difference I'm looking for here.
Okay, if you look through all the obstacles on stage 1, I would say if there was 10, I'd say at least 7 of them were lower body focused. And then you compare the same obstacles in stage 1 to American Ninja Warrior, I'd say a good 7 of them are going to be upper body focused. There is a clear difference in how they present the obstacles in these shows. Stage 1 for Sasuke is focused primarily on the lower body balance, speed, and just overall what you can do with your legs. Whereas on American Ninja Warrior, and we always see this, it's all this rock climbing stuff, it's all this upper body stuff, how much can you hold on to it? You didn't see any of that. Can you name at least 2 in a row that were upper body focused?
No, probably not, I guess. Not primarily. You look at like TIE Fighter would be what, core strength, I guess.
It's thigh strength. When anything like that, I know it kind of looks upper body, but I've been on them. You're using your legs to hold yourself up. But I guess it's both. And if you want to go that route for that one, time
is way more of an issue than we've had recently, at least for stage 1.
Isn't that fun though?
Yeah, it definitely is. I loved, for those that have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about it here, but like after the quad steps, it's this weird like roller, how was it called? Rolling hill. Yeah, rolling hill.
Oh, I love it.
It's like in old grocery stores, they used to have these rollers that you would push the things along on, like the baskets along on.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, but kind of in a, like almost a pyramid type way where it's stacked up. And I really like how those are. They've had this seasons before, and it's something that I really wish American Ninja Warrior introduced it, because it's deceptively difficult, right? It looks easy, and there's probably, if you master the technique of it, you can probably do it well. However, it really catches a lot of people off guard that don't know what they're doing. And it's just really fun visually aspect of seeing it, right?
Oh, yeah, and I'm guessing the wipeouts on it were spectacular, too. Like, they would just slide down and, like, be unable to catch himself. It was really kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that it's both going up and down. And not just that, it kind of prevents somebody from just, like, breezing through the first obstacle. Like, you can't just run past that. If you try to run through those things, you're going to wipe out quick.
Yep, I thought it was a good obstacle. The one right after it still baffles me. So it's even, like, that looks like a TIE Fighter. And then they called it a TIE Fighter. Like, are they sponsored by Disney suddenly? Like, how did they get away with that?
It could be many things, you know. Copyrights are different in different countries, right? So they might have a copyright claim to the name Time Fighter based in Japan. And I love this obstacle so much. I find this to be one of the best most creative obstacles they have, man. Everything about it, I really liked it. Obviously, I wish they definitely kept it dry, because you saw certain aspects of it where somebody's going on it where it's clearly wet, and that just annoyed the living heck out of me. But the technique and just the creativeness of this obstacle, this is the kind of stuff I like. It's kind of like they combined the rolling log with the spider walk, right? And you got this, and it's so creative. Yeah,
these are really cool. And then speaking of creative, my eyes bugged out of my head when they went to the next one, this music box thing. Like, the only thing I have seen of Sasuke was when we watched the first season of American Ninja Warrior, and the obstacles were not overly elaborate, not like this. Like, this was crazy moving parts. Like, it seemed like really over the top, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and one thing I think people need to appreciate with this obstacle is it's time consuming. It's not something that you can just run through. And I think the clock, as you alluded to before, it plays a big part in stage 1 on this show. Not just that, I just like the visual aspects of it. It looks just really cool, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it's like a moving climbing wall for those that didn't see it. It's really interesting looking.
Yeah, it kind of looks like almost like you said, a music box, like the little spinning part.
Yeah, and then we had the double pendulum, which was very, very similar to the TikTok.
The first upper body obstacle on this course. Probably the only one, too. Oh, no, the last one, I guess.
Yeah, they have little elements. Like, it really kind of tests everything a little better than you normally see.
It's definitely more diversified.
Yeah, because after that, there was the tackle machine, I guess you would call it. Like,
this is the best.
Really? You think? I was really baffled by that one. I wasn't sure if I liked it or not.
Well, let me explain then. The main point for this is that up to this point you've used a lot of your legs, right? But not primarily too much. Now, this you add on weight after weight after weight, and what it does is it completely burns out your legs, not just your calves but your thighs as well. All of the parts of your legs and your lower body that you're about to use for the warped wall. This is one of those it's kind of like a two-part obstacle, right? This is just a time-consuming obstacle that's really going to run down the clock, and once again, the clock plays a big part in this. But not just that. After that, your legs are completely burned out, and guess what you have to do right after that? The warped wall. And you saw, if you look back at it, many people had a really hard time. People that usually can do the warped wall like nothing. They had a really tough time doing the warped wall with this, even when the course was dry, man.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it as a two-part obstacle. That does make a lot of sense, especially, like you said, some of the other ones were testing their legs a bit too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Remember, it's just like American Ninja Warrior, where you have obstacles that just burn out your arms before a really tough upper body obstacle. This is the same thing for lower body obstacles.
Cool. And then they standard warped wall, and then Tarzan rope, and then they finish it with...
call it standard, man.
Yeah, I always have a warped wall, Tarzan rope deal, don't they?
Yeah, no, I'm saying like their warped wall is a little different from the American Ninja Warrior one, where the American Ninja Warrior one, you kind of have a small little run up to get up the warped wall. This one's more of, it's almost like a half of a circle, where you kind of have to go down this ramp, and then you have to immediately run up this warped wall. That I don't know if you noticed it, but it's a lot more curved. It almost looks like they just cut out like half of Pac-Man. You know, it's kind of like a circle of a Pac-Man in many aspects.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it doesn't look like a warped wall you would have in the city finals. It looks like the Vegas one, but I think it looks pretty similar.
Either way, I like how there's some difference.
But the final thing was I think it's called the lumberjack climb, maybe. It's like almost like the I-beam cross, where you've got to kind of scoot up this thing. I found it really strange that the atmosphere was really different, especially for the earlier runs. Like, people were falling, and the ones on the sidelines were really laughing when they fell. Like, it was very good natured. It didn't seem to be like they were insulting anybody, but like, it was almost like there's a lot of people that are running that are expected to fall, and it was just almost like a wipeout like atmosphere.
Yeah, it's kind of the heart of the show, is that usually the first 40 competitors, maybe 30 or 40, they're usually not expected to complete the course, but they're there because they actually they have some entertaining thing that they do in life, or they're just creative. Like, we had the Octopus Man that was like really, really, really old for a long time. Different aspects like that. Sumo people, like wrestlers. And they were just there to add some fun, some quirkiness to the show. And it honestly, it kind of added to the show, because if you have too many like authentic competitors that you just don't care for, you know, it really doesn't make much of a difference, right? If you have some creative, fun people and mix it up, it makes for a fun show. But yeah, I'm sure there was quite a difference towards the end, right? Where it was very somber.
Right, for sure. And that was the thing at first I thought wondered if it was going to carry through, that if anytime somebody falls, if it was looked at that way, and it definitely wasn't. It was just some of the earlier runs. Do you think that's something that's kind of been lost on the move to America? Do you think it would be good to have some kind of almost joke runs in the beginning?
What, like a horse trainer that's showing off his abs or something? Like...
Yeah, you know, for example, that would be, I guess they still have it in some ways, but...
No, like, I know what you mean. I guess. I mean, it's hard because the cultures are different, right? In America, it's considered way more of an authentic, like extreme athlete competition where you want the highest people. So if we dilute, like, say, the LA qualifiers and have like 30% of the field being just complete jokes, right? I think myself, and a lot of other people would be quite upset that they kind of like showed up or overlooked a lot of like really athletic people for these people. So it's kind of hit or miss, right?
You don't think we could get A, B, C, Z to come run the American course, maybe? Or
who?
The pop star? It seemed like they had some pop stars there.
Oh, pop singers? Yeah. Well, that would be cool. Like, you have to realize that would be the equivalent of, like, well, I don't know how big they are, but, like, imagine Rihanna being like, hey, I'm going to run American Ninja Warrior. Like, that's a big deal. So I know they, like kept panning back to this guy that looks like straight out of, like, a Final Fantasy game or an anime comic.
He does.
But, you know, like, I didn't mind that at all because I'm sure that's like a big deal to them. And it would probably be a big deal to Americans. Like if, hey, Taylor Swift is going to be running on American Ninja Warrior, like I'm sure everybody would be like, oh, I'm going to tune into that.
I'm really surprised they don't have that. Like I keep expecting it every year and we haven't gotten it yet where they had maybe not an A-list celebrity, but I mean, they had they had one of the Power Rangers on there. But I mean, there's got to be some action star or somebody that wants to get in on this and show they can do it. Get, Dwayne Johnson or someone to try running the course.
Dwayne Johnson would rip a muscle immediately.
I was trying to think of the other guy. Who was it? Zac Efron. Zac Efron was the other guy.
Zac Efron. Yeah. Zac Efron could do something. I guess it all depends on if they want to do it, right? But no, actually, if you remember, we talked about this. They brought like some American Ninja Warrior obstacles to the filming. We're going way off topic, but they brought those obstacles to the filming of the movie they're making.
Yeah, that's why maybe use them as examples. So
yeah. But yeah, one little thing. If you want that, when they have Canadian Ninja Warrior, you have Justin Bieber. You have him.
No. We traded him for I don't know, who did we get? I forget who we got. That's trade,
all you. That is still you. I
think we get a first round draft pick later. I don't think we get him back.
Man, you get a 7th tier draft pick for Justin Bieber. So yeah, overall, you saw how like the course is run in stage 1 and everything. Were there any particular runs that really stood out to you? Well, let's not talk about the last 10 runners, right? Or the All Stars. Like before we get into the All Stars, were there any runs pre All Stars that really stood out to you?
Well, I mean, Brent ran, so I didn't get to see Casey during the actual live footage, but I watched hers later, so we could talk about Brent and Casey because that's obviously directly to our normal audience.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is they didn't show Casey, but I found Casey's run like really, really engrossing. Like I was glued to my cell phone when I was watching it. When I was watching Casey's run, I'm shocked that they didn't show it.
Yeah, you would think like that would have been a good way to draw people in, and there was a really shockingly low number of women shown. I don't know if that's a normal thing or not.
Yeah, it can be hit or miss depending on the season in terms of like how many women run on the show, but I don't know. I think Casey did the best out of all the women, right?
Well, she almost beat it. Like considering how many people failed the course or really struggled on it, she almost made it. Like that would have been. Can you imagine if because only 8 people beat it. If she had been the 9th, can you imagine that would shut up a lot of her haters at least.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. But that would also go much more into the narrative that I saw, and I don't know Japanese, but I'm really curious if anybody does know Japanese, if they can speak to this. We'll get into it a little bit later, but I'll just hint to it that there was a 50-50 mix of foreigners and Japanese competitors that made it to stage 2 and 3. And I'm really curious how the competitors reacted to that.
Yeah, it seemed to be a pretty big kick in the pants that, and they were getting a lot of the focus too, right? You had Brent and Drew really eating up a lot of the airtime, I think.
Yeah, but Drew's a namesake. I mean, so...
Yeah, I don't think I probably wasn't much resentment there.
Yeah, like Drew's definitely the guy that everybody knows, but Brent, I don't know if I said Drew before, but Brent, I think, would be the shocker for a lot of people.
Yeah, but Brent beat stage 1. He was the first one, I think, that actually beat it.
Yep, he was. And I gotta say, right before we get out of it, Casey's run, I really felt bad for her when she got to, I forget the name of it, but the one where it kind of weighs down your legs, right? You have to push these like heavy crates.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I think they call it the tackle.
Oh man, like I don't know the weight conversion, but man, you have to imagine that she must have been pushing more than her body weight on that thing. She was barely muscling through. She must have burned out everything, and she still got it through and got up that warped wall. Where you have to realize like that is way higher for her than most people. So I give her all the props in the world.
Yeah, I can't believe she beat that warped wall. That was amazing, especially like you said, after taxing her legs. Like, I even before she got to that tackle machine or whatever it's called, I thought, is she even going to be able to push those things? Like, how is she going to be able to move them?
Yeah, I don't know. She really surprised me with that because I wasn't expecting her to do it. And I don't know. She always surprises me. I know there's a lot of haters, but haters going to hate, man. She really impresses me.
Yeah, I wish she would. I'd love to see her get as far as she has in past seasons again, but fortunately, we have another season where that didn't happen. Maybe she got we know she got a wild card spot. There's no way she didn't. So hopefully she did well in Vegas this year.
Yeah, come on.
But yeah, other than that, I didn't really note anybody else outside of the final 10. I think
it stood out to me that Mr. Sasuke's proteges, they all failed, and you can see Mr. Sasuke. It really took a toll on him. Most people Mr. Sasuke kind of reminds me of Sam Sand in many ways, where he's kind of going in a mentor role of the younger generation. I kind of like that, especially for that guy, because Sasuke is that guy's life, and he never really got to the promise to the very top, what a lot of people expected from him. So this is a good role for him. I guess the only other ones before that was, man, did they give a lot of airtime to that anime dude, huh?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. One other thing I did note from earlier in it was I think it was in one of the commercials, they showed something called Monster Box, where they like vault over this giant obstacle looking thing, which absolutely looked amazing. I was hoping maybe you knew something about that show, because I think I want to watch that too.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh no.
The thing that I watched didn't have commercials or anything, so.
Oh yeah, you get all that clipped out. Yeah, when you watch it live, you get every commercial, and there is a lot of commercials.
Sure. How long was the stream, by the way?
It was a little over 3 hours, I think.
Okay, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. So if we look at like the top 10, I think this is at the top 10 part anyway. There was a guy, and be darned if I can pronounce this properly, Shunsuke. I don't know. It seemed to be somebody that's run like a bunch of times and been skipped all the time. It like, tends to get fast forwarded or not shown because the chat lit up when he ran. Everyone seemed to be really happy that he wasn't skipped this time. He was only the 5th finisher at that point.
Yeah, Shinsuke Nagasaki. He's kind of like one of the newer, younger generations of the All-Stars. I'm glad he got his time to shine. Yeah,
and then so the next one, I took some general notes here. We've got Yuji falls on the double pendulum.
Oh, come on. We got to talk about this. So for the people that don't know, Yuji Urushihara, I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is the only person in Sasuke, American Ninja Warrior, any history, right, that has gotten total victory twice. This guy is legit. He's one of the best. And it's just so sad that he failed so early this season. I think he failed early last season as well. Let me check very quick. Yeah, so he's had a rough ton, a rough few years of, just falling out of luck. And man, it's kind of like watching, David Campbell, just failing like 2 or 3 years in a row on stage one. You're like, oh my God, you just know that he has so much more to prove and he's so good. So that was really rough for me. And another thing that stood out for me was last year's, total victory winner from Sasuke 31, Yusuke Morimoto. He was kind of like the young gun that everybody was expecting to do well. He's kind of like Daniel Gill, right? He just blows everybody away in his rookie year, and then he's doing great a few years later on, and then he just achieves total victory last year. It was really disappointing to see that he wasn't able to run this year. From what I've read, it seems to be because he had to focus on college and work. I really hope we see him next year because that guy is so incredibly talented as well. And if you remember, he is the guy that just killed it during the USA versus the world competition last year.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple of them, and I recognize it was actually kind of pleasant to have a little bit of background on them and realize, and they kind of refresh your memory by showing some A&W clips before their run, so that was really helpful for me. But yeah, he went out on the double pendulum, and man, oh man, the crowd went crazy. The announcers looked shocked, and the chat went berserk.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could tell that was a pretty big moment.
Imagine, I don't know, Jeff Britton failing on the third obstacle of stage 1.
Yeah.
You're just like, what just happened?
After him, I had Ryo Matachi. It was the strangest thing. It was like he just kind of gave up. Like he got to the tackle machine and he just kind of was walking behind it. It was strange. Like I don't even know how to describe it. He just started taking his time all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be many things. Maybe he just burned out.
Well, that's what I was like. Does he have no strength left? It seemed like it just seemed odd. I've never seen someone kind of cash out like that early. Like usually everybody goes till they fall. And he just, I don't know. I don't understand what was going on there.
Yeah, it kind of looked like he might have injured his ankle or his leg because it kept showing back to him doing the little. Oh God, I keep forgetting the names, but the weighted things. they keep playing or replaying that, so that might have something to do with it.
The tackle machine?
Yeah.
That's.
And I need a list of these names of things because I have no idea. Maybe just tackle machine. I have to remember that.
But here's the thing. That's where I'm saying it wasn't that he injured it. If he injured it, it had to be before that because he was just walking along behind them. Like he didn't look like he was even trying to really push them.
Yeah, it was just bad technique overall. Because what he'd do is he'd throw one and then he'd just stop the momentum by not pushing anymore.
Yeah.
And then he'd just wait till all momentum stopped and then he started pushing again. So I don't know.
It didn't make any sense. I'm hoping somebody can explain that to us. If you're listening right now and you know what the heck was going on there, please let me know.
Poor technique and possible injury.
We'll go with that. And then I had number 91,
Kenji Darvish.
Darvish, okay. The face paint guy.
Yeah,
this guy's
awesome.
He dropped on the TIE Fighter. I got the impression he was famous or something. I don't know. There seemed to be a lot of contention over his placement.
Yeah, just because I don't think he's done particularly well throughout all of his years. I know he did well last year, but I'm not sure that he's done well the years before that. And I think he came on kind of as... one of the top 30 kind of joke acts. Joke's harsh word, but more of the people that you don't take completely seriously, right? But he kind of dedicated himself to training more and more, and he became more of a serious athlete over the past few years. So maybe it's the mix of him having a namesake outside of Sasuke and him actually doing well last year where he got, one of the coveted 90 spots.
Maybe. Or maybe he's like the Tom Cruise over there. And
he is not Tom Cruise.
You don't think he's Tom Cruise? Maybe not.
Might be as tall as Tom Cruise.
And after him, I had Drew, of course, Drew Dressel. And that's when it all kind of came to light that the course is wet because he called them out blatantly. But he still made it. He didn't stop. He didn't just throw up his hands and go, "It's wet, I can't do it." He just beat it anyway. It was amazing.
Yeah, he got it through it. First of all, he skipped Kong, and Kong's awesome. But yeah, we can. That's fine. Drew Dressel, he is kind of the definitive representative of America on Sasuke over the past few years, and he's always done great. He's kind of I don't know. It's hard. The only comparison that I can give is kind of the Drew Dressel of American Ninja Warrior, right? He's just... You just know he's going to get far, and you just know he's going to kill it every time. But I appreciate the fact that we have somebody like him that is always there to represent America every year on Sasuke. And it's also to the point where all of the top athletes, all the all-stars, they all view him on that top echelon as well. Him getting a 90 spot is a big deal. And I really wish I knew Japanese and I can get a little bit more in depth or understand more of how they feel about him. Because like whenever he runs, you always see more than any other competitor all of these reactions from all the Japanese top all stars, right? And you always see their reactions. Some of them can be smug, some of them can be looking at him like smiling. It's always curious. I don't know if they're rooting for him or if they're rooting against him. It's so hard to tell.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that too. It was weird. There's, like you said, about somebody smiling when he fell. I wasn't sure what that meant. If that was just a nervous smile or just the fact that I'm pretty sure he swore pretty loudly when he fell, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but over the past few years, man, like you always see at least like 20 different competitors, Japanese competitors' reactions, like everything he's doing whenever he runs, and you never see anything like that for any other competitor. I'm always just so curious how they feel about him, and I'm not saying one way or another. They can love him. I don't know.
So they had to shut it down at that point to dry it, and carried on the next day.
Yeah, I'm so glad they did, because it was really getting to me at this point, because Kong fell and slipped from the TIE fighter because it was wet. And then you see Drew complaining about how wet it was. And when he complained and after he completed it, they spent a good 1 or 2 minutes showing just how wet all these obstacles got. And that's where it really hit me. I'm like, man, this course is soaking wet and they're having these competitors run it. Like, that is not cool, especially when it's lower body base for all these obstacles. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But when they came back in the daytime, I got to see Wreath Man, who I had heard of before. And he destroyed it, man. He just he had almost 26 seconds left. Like, that's, considering how tight the time frame was for so many other people, that was an insane amount of time to have left on the clock.
Yeah, this guy is just like a ball of energy. He's so awesome.
Come
on, my favorite competitor is next.
You do the next guy, because all I've got here is it Asa?
Oh yeah,
and it said he fell on the TIE fighter, and I just said,
okay,
wow, but I don't know why I wrote that.
So next up is somebody that I'm sure a lot of people know, Asa Kazuma. This guy, like, whenever you see him on screen, you know you're about to get tears. Like, you just know he's about to break down crying. If he wins or loses, you're going to get some drama. First of all, congratulations to him for getting married and all that. It's really cool. But this guy takes it really seriously. I appreciate the dedication that he has on the show. You really see that this culture really embraces empathy, right? And just pure general emotion. And this guy gives it tenfold. So it's really cool seeing it. And over the years, I always felt like he kind of hams it up just a little bit. But I still appreciate him for it. And it really, I don't know, man. It was hard to see for him falling the way he did just on the first stage. And he just, he damn near plummeted right into, the side of that barrier, right? It was a shocker to everybody.
I guess anybody in the top 10 that falls in stage one's a little bit surprising. Next we had Kano. He fell behind, and then he ended up injuring his shoulder on the warped wall. It actually looked kind of nasty. Like, he definitely looked hurt when he managed to pull himself up there.
Yeah, that's rough too, because Kano, he's actually one of the best of the best. He's definitely one of the top namesakes. He's got a really good history on the show. He's gotten to stage 3 multiple times, and I think he's gotten to stage 4 as well. So I was expecting a lot from this guy. It was really heartbreaking to see that not only did he not complete the course, but it looks like he also injured himself, and you never want to see that. No,
definitely not. Oh, speaking of injuries, one they didn't show, but there seemed to be a lot of talk about, was Perry Osterley, who ended up injuring himself on the course and then ended up not being able to complete it because of that injury. So unfortunately, he didn't make it through. Next, I had Tomo, who just killed it. He had 20 seconds left. He made it look easy, even more, almost more than Wreath Man. He looked like he was just effortless.
So yeah, Tomohiro Kawaguchi, he's really, really good. He's a guy that a lot of people expect a lot from, just because over the past few years, he's always gotten very, very far. And he's actually gone to the final stage, I think 3 years ago. Yeah, back in Sasuke 30. So this is definitely a guy that a lot of people have a lot of prospects of. Yeah, he's good, and he's awesome, man.
So then next was the what I mentioned before, where they digested a couple of the All-Stars, Shingo and Takeda. But in a weird way, like I said, they kind of seem to be showing backstory, and then I thought they were going to be showing runs, and then it just kind of skipped past them. So.
Okay, now I understand, because like I'm sure from like a layman's point of view, you're like, I have no idea who these are. These guys are big deals to Sasuke, right? They've been there. They've been the namesakes of the Sasuke All-Stars. Basically, these guys and Makoto Nagano. So. Yeah, it's kind of, I understand they built their story up just showing how far they've gone. They've gone so close. Like, you see them just getting feet away from the buzzer on stage 4 many times. It's just kind of building up the ending to the Sasuke All-Stars and kind of retiring them.
Okay. And then kind of the number one guy that everybody's waiting for, was it Makoto Nagano?
Makoto Nagano, yeah.
Man, oh man, to me, if that's his last run from what we've seen, right, is his big retirement.
Yeah.
To me, that's perfect. That is the way to go out. I know it would have been great if he could have cleared through everything, but to me, it demonstrates that, he's just a couple steps off of where he needs to be, but he showed he still has it. Like, he did so well, so close to getting it, but just enough to show why this probably is a good time to stop.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, man. He's had a really historied, story on this show. He's had major highs. I mean, obviously, he's gotten total victory and everything. But he's had major lows as well, where he's failed stage 1 a few times, and it was always heartbreaking because it was always off of small mistakes. So I'm just so incredibly happy that he was able to get through all the obstacles on stage 1, and ultimately it was a timer that kind of doomed him. As you said, it was kind of like poetic, right? That it was almost his timing, that he wasn't as quick as he used to be to get to that final buzzer. He was just a few seconds off. So yeah, I understand that. I guess it's quite poetic. I don't know, man. It was hard to see. Makoto Nagano, He's the guy you think of when you think of Sasuke. That's the person you picture.
So it's strange because I come in at the end, and some people have found that a little odd that I would choose this one to watch. It's almost like watching the last part of a trilogy first, but yeah, it was still, even I think they gave me enough information to have the context and get that this was a big deal and everything. I'm sure I don't have the appreciation that a regular watcher would have, but I was still pretty touched. I thought it was a nice way to go out, and they kind of gave him a bigger ceremony later, which I think is shown all out of order, but whatever. They end the whole thing with retiring him, basically, which I've never seen anything like that before. Like, we've had people leave ANW and they don't get retirement ceremonies, so it kind of gives a perspective on how big of a deal he is. Yeah,
I mean, he became a national celebrity when he achieved total victory. And you have to realize also the Ninja Warrior or the Sasuke All-Stars, they're also kind of like celebrities. But he became a national, almost an international celebrity, because if he steps on American Ninja Warrior course, he's going to be hounded, just surrounded by people wanting his autograph and everything. He's almost a god to a lot of these people. And people listening, all of them, this is a guy that legit brought me into the sport. If he didn't exist, I probably wouldn't be recording this with you right now. He had a huge influence on the sport in general, and a huge influence in just people watching it. Yeah, it was a big deal, a very, very big deal.
So then we moved on to stage 2 with only 8 people making it through, which is really, really ridiculously small number of people to be going on.
Yeah, and 4 of them were foreigners. How'd you feel about that?
It seemed odd to me. I would have expected it to be a lot less, but that's what we had. So I didn't know if that was unusual or not. I got the impression it was.
Yeah. This is the thing. previous seasons of Sasuke, it's always had foreigners, and it's always been like pretty cool, you know. Oh, you have these people from this country or this country, and it's whatever. But we've never had it where the disparity's been that it's an equal playing field of you had probably like 90 plus Japanese competitors and maybe just like a sprinkling of foreigners, and yet it's a 50-50 getting to stage 2. That's a really bad look, man.
I suppose, yeah. Didn't bode well for them, and I kind of wondered if anyone would be making it through to stage 3, and all of them did, which was a really big surprise.
It wasn't to me. This is what I need to talk about. The biggest problem for me was stage 2 was incredibly underwhelming for me. It was a major disappointment. They really didn't revamp anything. They didn't really heighten the difficulty. It almost seems like they took out some of the obstacles of stage 2. It's hard to say. It's like difficult to say it's an easy stage, right? Because it's like none of the stages are easy, right? But comparatively, it's ridiculously easy compared to previous seasons of stage 2. I don't know what the main focus was, and I'm curious what they thought would actually like take out these competitors. They breezed through this thing, and it has a lot to do with the fact that they didn't change anything up. They didn't really heighten the difficulties. It was just an overall major disappointment for me.
Now, here's the question. Could that have been on purpose? Do you think they wanted to guarantee some people made it further? Because from what I understand, Sasuke is kind of having trouble with ratings and everything, so they probably want people to go a little further to add to the excitement. Do you think maybe they left it that way to kind of drive people towards the end, maybe?
I mean, maybe, but that's not the spirit of the show. And I've never seen that before.
Yeah, and it would kind of deaden the excitement for regular viewers, which kind of goes against the purpose, too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if they wanted to do that, that's fine. I can understand from a producer's perspective, but you at least have to introduce something new. The whole like prospect of the sport is the creativity. And you saw in stage 1 and stage 3 how creative these like they can be when it comes to the show. So it's really interesting that they didn't really do anything with stage 2, where it wasn't even like they kind of just skipped over it. I mean, it wasn't even in their thoughts and minds. They have some creative obstacles on stage 2, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But the thing is that we've seen them for the past few years. They're not new to us at this point. And these are obstacles where clearly these competitors have trained on and they know how to do it. So they have to introduce something new, or it's just going to be the same thing.
You know what's funny is that from my perspective, it was all new. I actually really liked it. So definitely a place where my perspective would be totally different from most people watching, because I looked at that crazy prop slide. I don't even know what it's called at the beginning of stage 2, but I thought that thing looked like insanely difficult. That was called the cross slider. It's like you wedge yourself in there with just your hands. Like, oh my God, that looked difficult. And then they do the double salmon ladder. You had to go up one side, then down the other. That was kind of cool. Nice little addition. The fact that they had to swim, like, what was that? Like,
that's my favorite obstacle.
What is that?
That's awesome. But once again, like, all these obstacles, they're not new. All these competitors have trained ready for these. They have to introduce something new. It's ridiculous. But I do, like, the swimming one's really cool, right?
It was. Like drastically different. Like, I was floored when I saw that. But I don't know, it didn't seem to trip anyone up even a little bit. Like, maybe one person looked like they struggled a little bit on it, but like, I don't know if they need stronger jets or something for them to swim against, or what you do to ramp up the difficulty there. But I liked the idea. It was really neat.
Well, I think another problem is something must have happened with the production of this. They must have had another obstacle like for stage 2, because when you saw these, like, them finish it, they were finishing with like over 30 seconds of left on the clock, and none of these obstacles looked like they were giving them any trouble. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of some reasoning why this course was so incredibly easy comparatively, but maybe it's just not there. Maybe they just didn't think it through.
But at the same time, like, they tended to digest the ones that actually were close. Like there were ones that had 5 seconds left and 10 seconds left. That's still, not exactly down to the buzzer, but there was only 2 of them that had like close to 30 seconds left.
Should there be anybody with close to 30 seconds left?
It's almost exactly.
Stage 2?
We saw the same thing with stage 2 in Vegas. Really, the roulette row was the only. Is that right? Yeah, roulette row was the only real difference that we had. So we had tons of people.
Okay, but here we go. Like, let's compare the two then. Do you see any obstacles on this course that's even close to roulette row, where there's such a high technical threshold that you have to get through, and it's something that is somewhat new? None of these are new. None of these have that technical threshold.
There you go. Actually, that would be a really fair point. There is no ninja killer. There is no, like, this is the one that's really going to require some extra skill. This is all, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see them just plowing through it all.
And traditionally, over the past few years, they did have a ninja killer obstacle prior to the weighted walls, but they just didn't have it this year. I guess they thought the jet stream would be it because it did take out a lot of competitors the years before. But you can just see, I don't know if they nerfed it or people just were able to train and get past it, but it didn't create that barrier that I guess they expected.
Yeah, maybe they're having like engine trouble with the jet stream thing.
More power.
Yeah, you just need to amp it up a little. But yeah, so that was interesting. I kind of thought we weren't going to see stage 3, and instead we get all 8 of them going through.
Yeah, I mean, stage 2 was a disappointment, but with that said, I was quite happy that I got to see so many people run stage 3 at least, right?
Yeah, but there was like almost nothing worth noting in stage 2. Like it was just...
No, just breeze right through it. There was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, Brent's a good swimmer. That's about all I got for notes.
I sure hope so. He's always doing the hang loose sign. You have to imagine he better swim and surf and all that.
That's a good point. But yeah, so we move on to the third stage. What do you think of the drum hop, the first obstacle?
Dude, I love everything about their stage 3. Oh, so Sasuke, like, the one thing Sasuke does really, really well is stage 1 and 3. They are always on point with these 2 stages. And man, did they bring the guns this year. The drum hop was awesome. I think they had it last year, but it's just an awesome obstacle to see. I really think it's really creative, really awesome. And it uses a different body part than, you have to use almost your shoulders and, like, your outer arms, like a body part that most people don't really train on, right?
Yeah, I don't think so anyway.
See, this is the kind of things I like. I like diversity, where it's just not, oh, I better strengthen my fingertips or my hands, my grip strength. Like, you have to, like, for Sasuke, you have to train all around. And I really like that.
And the drum hop went up, too. It wasn't like they just had to go sideways. They had to actually hop their way up. It was nuts.
Yeah, not just that, it was slippery too. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's probably like padded, like it's got some grip. Nope, those things are slippery as all heck. Like, I loved everything about it. And you saw these guys like trying to get out the upper part, just slipping right off. And I really like the fact that you got to see just the struggle involved with them trying to like muscle themselves back up and get past it. And you have to imagine that must have like burned them completely out. But everything about it, these are the kinds of things I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, and then we... followed by the flying bar, which I'm used to seeing at the end of stage 3, so it was interesting to see it as the second obstacle.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. It's a cool obstacle. I'm glad they had it. And, I actually like its placement, don't you? Because it kind of like it wears your fingertips and your arm placement at the beginning of the stage rather than towards the end where they just ramp up everything, making you I feel like in American Ninja Warrior, everything towards the end is all your fingertips and your arm strength. I like how they just switch it up quite a bit.
Yeah, I just like the variety a bit. After that was something called the Sidewinder.
Oh man, I love these. How do you feel?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure them out. I'm looking at it and I'm going... So they're kind of like heavy bags, I guess, hanging down. And then when he jumped over to it and the thing slid down, like...
Did that surprise you?
Yes.
I was not expecting that.
What the heck are they doing?
That was so awesome. I'm curious if Brent knew. He must have known that it does that. But man, when he did that and it just dropped out, I was like, oh, snap. Like, As soon as I saw it drop down like that, that's where I got a huge appreciation for this obstacle, because you really have to squeeze hard to stay up on this, right? But then you have to just prepare for that drop, and then you have to climb up it again to prepare for the next drop. It's so cool. I like that kind of stuff. It reminds me a lot of the door climb, but in my opinion, it might be even better than that.
Yeah, it was definitely a good obstacle. I love that, none of these are really like height dependent in any way, or like it doesn't provide you necessarily a disadvantage to be like, I just find a lot of them to be really good balanced obstacles.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man.
And the next one, like, this is the one that takes the cake, like the ultra crazy cliffhanger, like to have like the ultimate cliffhanger obstacle and then to have it moving is just the most cruel thing I can imagine doing.
That's exactly what I was saying. I'm like, oh, you guys are just sick. Like, you guys are just... I was like, there is no way anybody will ever do this. But that's how I feel every year. I love what they do with the cliffhanger, because every year they amp it up more and more and more. And not just that, it always seems like there's at least one competitor on this show that just surpasses my expectations tenfold with these things, where I'm like, that is impossible. There's no way I'll ever do it. And yet somebody does it. Dude, I really hope American Ninja Warrior takes some things from this cliffhanger, because this is the coolest damn cliffhanger I've ever seen in my life. It is so cool.
It is extremely cool. And I really didn't think anyone was going to come anywhere close to doing it. And then I didn't realize that the one right after it, the obstacle, like, if that wasn't cruel enough, then there's a vertical limit after, which I've never seen before. Basically, you have to grip from underneath. Like,
did you see how small the little grip strength is, though?
Yeah,
like the ledge.
There need to be a rest. Like, how do you not have a rest between the crazy cliffhanger and that thing? That's nuts.
I feel bad for, like, oh man, like, it's hard for me to say it's impossible, because you just know somebody's gonna do it. Yeah. But this is the kind of stuff that I love about Sasuke and American Ninja Warrior, or the sport in general. Is like, for years there were always these obstacles where everybody's like, there's no way anybody will do it, and yet people do it, and that's what makes those like crazy moments. Like, I would kill to see Jeff or Isaac or anybody that is known for like having crazy grip strength try it. And I'm so glad that Drew was here to do this and just show that it almost could be done.
So we had a few competitors, including Brent, start running through, and they all did pretty well in the drum hop. There were some close calls for a few of them. Brent ended up going out on the crazy cliffhanger transition, and then we had a couple, Sasuke Sensei and Shunsuke fail on the flying bar as well, before we moved on to Drew Dreschel, who ended up being the superhero we needed, I guess.
But not the one we deserve.
Not the one we deserve, exactly. Oh my god, like, I had to make note of this because I've never seen anything like it, and I thought it was spot on. As much as people want to criticize editing and whatever, this was perfect editing to me. The pacing as he goes through this is great. They showed the silence, and they just let it hang there, and the tension was just building. Like, there was no pumped-in crowd noises. There was no quick cuts to, he was taking his time, and they just let it build, and I was just on the edge of my seat the whole time. I loved it. It was perfect.
What a really good point. I never thought about that, but you're really onto something there, because they really let it play out. And there's something to be said about authenticism when it comes to the production of this show, especially with this guy's run, because you're right, man. You felt everything about it, and I was really, really just glued to what I was watching when it came to it, especially with the added drama of, he's on an obstacle. I forget the name of it, but the little hanging ones, and he's complaining that it's wet, and you see him just taking all this time drying himself up, and I'm just like freaking out, being like, oh my god, he's wearing his muscles out. He's like, he's wearing himself down. Is he going to be able to complete it? There was all this added minor drama to it, and it would be really easy for the production staff to just edit all that out, but they let it stay in there. They let it show. They let the heightened difficulty just exacerbate the situation. It was so cool, and I really liked that.
Yeah, so he gets on this ultimate crazy cliffhanger thing, and he makes the first transition look easy, like the one that trips so many people up. He just does it right away, like no hesitation, skips over the other side, and then we get to see him transition. Like, if you didn't see it, if you think of like the really hard part of the cliffhanger when they have to kind of move from one ledge to another and they have to jump across.
Like backwards, do a 180.
Do a 180 and catch the other side. Now imagine it's moving up and down a couple of feet while they're trying to do this.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But not just that. You also have, there was also like an arching part where he had to like kind of go around, almost like a rock climbing part where he had to go around with a cliffhanger. Just everything about this was really cool, and he actually failed previous years from doing the 180 jump gap, and he was actually able to make both gaps this year. So it definitely is a testament to Drew Dressel's training. He definitely learns from his mistakes, and that's one thing I really respect about this guy.
Yeah, and then I didn't realize that he wasn't going to have a break, and I think I was looking away because I turned back and he was done, right? He failed immediately afterwards on the next obstacle.
Oh man, I saw it and I was like, these people are evil. Like, you do all this stuff, even with the moving thing and the gap, and then you have to go straight on to another grip obstacle. That's brutal.
Yeah, I saw the replays and I was just like, what? How? Like, I blinked. What happened? Like, how did he go out? But he did beat the obstacle that seemed unbeatable, so that was really cool.
Yeah, and he got the farthest out of everybody.
Yes, he did in the end, because there was two more runs. We had Wreathman and Tomo, but it was really, really wet at that point and blatantly unfair for them to be running the course at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough, man, because I understand both sides. I mean, there's not much you can do to battle the elements, but, you are building this course. You think you can kind of put, like, tarps up on top of these, at least on stage 3, right?
Well, they threw a blanket over the bar, so I mean that.
No, I'm talking about tarps over the big mean thing where nothing even gets wet, right? But maybe that has to do something with the lighting of the how they do it.
Yeah,
but
God only knows.
Tarp, like a little like thing on top of the bar. What's that going to do, right?
Yeah, I was just, my jaw dropped when I realized that they had to pull the little tarp off the bar and then start moving. Like, you could see it sliding in the cradles. Like, it was ridiculous. So that was it. That was the whole deal in the end. Overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough that I'll be, if it's back again next year, which I'm hoping it will be, I'll be watching. I'll get up early again to watch that. I liked it. Oh,
yeah. I mean, you have to. Any big fan of the sport, like, you got to see where it all started from. This is the best of the best. I hope to see a lot of these guys come back, at least some of the guys that went far, come back for the USA versus the world competition. That's one thing that really stands out to me, where I just really wish that Team Japan, was represented a little bit better. I'm not talking about like the competitors or anything, but just, I wish they do a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to a lot of competitors that did well this year get to a chance to shine on that and maybe get some young bloods, because past few years we've always had some of the older competitors. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. It sounds like some people might not have, maybe because of Stage 2, and I can't fault them for that. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's always fun watching Sasuke. And, man, I'm really curious, more than anything else, I'm really, really curious to what number they give Drew Dressel next year. Because he's gotten almost the farthest, maybe 3 years in a row now. He's one of the hallmarks of it. He's kind of like the known to American representative. He's got to be considered like one of the all-stars, but I don't even know if that's sacrilegious for them,
Right.
Because it's like, he is a foreigner and he is always wearing like a giant American flag on him all the time. But I'm really curious to like how they like kind of represent him next year. Maybe he'll be like number 97 or something. He can't be number 100, but
yeah, that seemed to be
97 or something.
That seemed to be the consensus. There was a lot of debate raging in the chat, and it seemed to be. Some people think he'll be 99. I have no idea if that's
that
feasible.
makes sense.
But the person, and I can't remember his name now, the guy who is starting his career and couldn't be there, they figure it's going to be 100. I believe.
Oh, yeah, that completely makes sense. Yeah, because he was sorely just like you felt his presence missing right here during the show, because he's somebody, like, more than anybody else, he was the guy that I was most looking forward to. Him and Yuji. But yeah. Yusuke Morimoto, he's got to be somebody that a lot of people are looking for next year.
Okay, so that is it for Bajan. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in, I guess?
If there's one obstacle that you want taken from Sasuke that you saw to American Ninja Warrior, and we'll take out the cliffhanger because I think we both can agree that's probably number one. What would you like to see presented in the Vegas finals?
Oh, let me see.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead. You give yours.
I really like a lot of the obstacles that I saw in Stage 3 and everything, but I really have to give it a huge shout out to the very first obstacle. Well, I guess the second obstacle that we saw in Stage 1, the one with the rolling logs, the spinning log thingies that go up and then down. I really like that, and I think it can play a huge part in the Vegas finals. I would really like to see that, I guess, move over to the American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, I guess just for visually, I kind of would like to see the backstream, like the swimming. I would just love to see how, like...
Oh, yeah. The jet stream, man. That's so cool, yeah.
Like, see them try to do that. I don't know. It would be cruel, because I know there's at least one guy who can't swim. I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I was so down on Stage 2, I kind of blocked that out of my mind, but that's an obstacle I've loved ever since I saw it first introduced. Jetstream, that's a really good idea. I really like that obstacle.
So right now, we're gonna leave some space here, and we'll get the point of view of Arsenette, who will give us some additional details on what we may have missed or misrepresented in the last little bit. So. Here we go.
What up, Arsenette?
Okay, joining me right now is Arsenette from the Final Stage podcast and the Sasuke Maniac forums. How are you making out, Arsenette?
Doing good. I'm so excited you guys watched this. You have no idea.
Well, it was exciting to watch. I've been hearing about it for so long, and to kind of jump in was nice. But I know you got a chance to listen to Bajan and I have our discussion, and we know this episode's already going to be monumentally long. So I guess right off the bat, any of the competitors that we weren't fair to, I know actually even Bajan mentioned we should have gone over Kong, and I didn't have a note on him, so we had brushed past him, but I remembered him. Like, he actually was one of the people I was looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, well, Kong you already know because of USA versus World, and Nagasaki was one that I thought was really interesting because he was the other finalist along with Nagano when Nagano won. And people forget that. It's been so many years. He was like 17, 18 years old at that point. So he has been in the tournament for, I think it was a couple years after that. And then he stopped for a while. And then he came back, and each time he came back, he was either digested or cut, even though he was like in the second or third stage each tournament ever since. So I don't. Did you go through my Twitter feed at all after the fact, after you saw it?
I did, but frankly, there was a lot there. I tried to follow, but there was a lot, so I
was
can't remember
going,
everything.
Hell froze over. TBS is showing Shunsuke Nagasaki.
Yes, that was the one that I really saw the biggest reaction from people.
He gets fast. He's good, too. Dude's not even 30 yet. He hasn't even hit his prime.
So that's good. That's good that they're featuring different people. I mean, it sucks when they fast forward anybody, but if it's to show someone that they've been neglecting, then that's a good thing.
I think the synopsis of it is that Sasuke is going through the exact same thing that American Ninja Warrior is going through. They're both tournaments right after a win. Now, this is technically the fifth time we do this because Yuji won twice. And each time there is what we call a renewal tournament. There are two things that happen. You change all the obstacles, change the final, whatever, and you set a tone. And the tone is basically you're finishing the last era and you're starting the new era. And so you get to figure out who are the people that they're pushing or the types of things that they want to see. You can tell by who's invited, who gets cut from broadcasts, or which types of obstacles where all of a sudden, oh, we're now doing a whole bunch of lower body or a whole bunch of upper body and that sort of thing. And both ANW and Sasuke did the exact same thing. They're purging and starting over. Did you guys see the final? I didn't hear you talk at all about the final.
About the final?
Yeah, the final stage. The Japanese final stage.
Am I missing something? Nobody made it to the final.
No, but they always
climb.
They show it. And they described it.
I guess I didn't pay attention because I didn't see anybody doing it. What was the...
It has 3 stages. First is the spider walk, the going up, the
spider climb.
Yes, sorry, thank you. Spider climb. My brain is not thinking. Spider climb, then salmon ladder, 20 rungs, and then the rope. And it's 20.
I didn't even notice that. How did I not notice that?
25 meters high, which is just over 80 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Japanese new final. Second stage, you guys missed the entire thing with the conveyor belt. Where between the walls and right after you get out of the backstream that was not just that was an obstacle itself. It was a reverse conveyor belt. The thing ran backwards. So when you're trying to hustle underneath the tunnel, the thing's coming towards you to slow you down.
Yeah, I did notice it.
Yeah, they had tech issues with that, and actually 2 people got hurt there.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just like almost a non-obstacle the way they were going through, and I don't know if it was because...
No, they added 15 seconds from last year. And just adding those 15 seconds, we actually calculated, I think about 5 of them would have timed out on the old one. Oh, the commentators. Commentators are actually heard clearly because they have mics on them.
Like, you mean the audience can hear them?
Oh, yes. In fact, sometimes they're talking to the audience. So they have those sections where they'll go, okay, I'm now going to be talking, and you have these celebrities, which, again, that's tied to management companies and sponsors and how they can get the show on the air, those types of things. So they're interchangeable. They change by whatever companies have sponsors that year. And it's just how they save money because they do exchanges where if you promote this show for us, then, we'll pay for this, and this. And that's how they can keep costs down, as opposed to having a set person like Matt and Akbar. That just doesn't exist. I mean, you have a couple of announcers, but it's a very different system over there. Like, they actually have the announcer separated, that all he does is play-by-play. I think you may see him once. If he's sort of like a no-name and still working, you never see him at all, because that's not the focus. The focus is the course and the person rather than the announcer, and that's the fundamental difference between the two shows. Let me see. Oh, tackle. The course has technically 2 different courses for the first stage. What they do is they run the first 50, first basically mostly men, and then around the 50 mark they have everybody take a break, and then they reset obstacles. In fact, let's see, from the first stage they set it for the group is literally women, children, and old people.
Really?
And yes, oh yes, they do. This takes about 45 minutes to reset up. And so what they do is the steps are actually dismantled, and they get them closer. The entire rolling hill it's on a floating platform, and they unhinge it and move it closer. They changed the TIE fighter walls entirely. I'm not sure what they were, but they had different walls, and the pitch is actually not as deep and not as high. So it doesn't come down too hard. The tackle is lighter. The wall is lower. If you look at the runs where you can actually see when they're grabbing onto the top ledge, the lip that pulls a little bit forward, you see a line that's almost like a foot underneath. That's where that detaches.
Interesting. So that's
Yeah,
Really
so it's like,
interesting to
I
know.
think it's like 11, 12 feet as opposed to the men, I think is either 12 to 13 feet. So yeah.
So you tweeted something today about, did they post like an expanded version of Nagano's run or something?
Yes, and I was so freaking happy. One of the things that I was railing on them was that they cut the ceremony of Makoto Nagano. And I think between the fan outcry and everything else, not only did they give the ceremony, they also gave his uncut run. Like, literally is his uncut run, like, right before they do the 3, 2, 1 thing. And so, I had wished it had been in Japanese television, but YouTube actually does have a higher expanded audience. I wish they subtitled it. There may be at some point, I don't know, but I was just happy to see it at all. So yes, as many people go see that as possible. Yeah,
I'll make sure.
It's the last time you'll get to see it.
I'll make sure to include it in the show notes. So if you want to check it out, you can either stop by our website, it'll be there, or just click on the link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Perry. Totally forgot about Perry.
Yeah, what was the deal with Perry? What happened?
Well, first of all, he was my sponsor. I was on his guest list. So, thank you, Perry. Okay. Perry was freaking awesome, first and foremost. He had a very, very fast pace. He got to the TIE fighter, jumped off the TIE fighter, and you know how there's like a padding and stuff like that? Apparently there was a hole.
Oh.
And his foot went right through the hole, straight down, and I saw it like you can see that and I talked to him after, obviously because I spent the entire week with him. I talked with him afterwards, and he, at that time when he put his foot in the hole and he felt his ankle break, he's like, I have about a minute until this adrenaline runs out. So let me get as far as I can before the pain really hits. Because at first you get like the twinge, like, I'm not sure if how bad this is. So he obviously completed the TIE fighter, went on the music box, still okay, got to the pendulum, okay, got to the tackle. Oh dear God, this hurts. He pushed through the tackle. He missed the wall once, and he thinks he might have crunched more when he missed that the first time. Passed the wall, got to the Tarzan rope, passed the Tarzan rope, got all the way up to the top of the lumberjack, got to the top of the platform, and timed out just like Nagano.
Wow, with a broken ankle. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a fracture in the ankle, torn muscles in the ankle, and a severe sprain. In fact, yesterday was the first day he was able to walk. 5 weeks later.
Other than when he ran up the warped wall and everything else he was doing immediately
yes.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, he says once he got to the top and the adrenaline kind of ran out, because at that point he had used everything. Because the only way down from there is like a fireman's pole.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like, ooh, how do we get down from here?
Oops.
And so they started howling, so yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, Arsenet, for clearing up some of that for us. It was lots of fun talking to you. We'll definitely be chatting again sometime, I think.
I'm just happy you guys took the time to see it, and it ended up being that we had a break this week because of 4th of July.
Yeah, kind of perfect, really.
Well, sort of, because you still have Spartan coming up.
Oh, don't remind me. Not
You
Spartan.
guys are nuts.
No. I like Spartan, but can we just do it in the fall? Like, can we just air this separately?
No, I enjoy listening to them. So
yeah. It's growing. I mean, the show's growing on me, so that makes it a little easier too. I actually do like watching it. So
you get one more.
There's 3 more episodes, I think.
Hang in there.
Yeah, we'll get through. No problem.
We'll listen.
Okay, we're back, and hopefully we survived. I think we're probably going to be okay. But
did we pass?
Did we pass? Pass, fail? We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so beyond that, man, we've got a really long episode going here, so we're going to have to try to kind of rush through some of the end here. I wanted to give a quick shout out to NinjaWarriorBlueprints.com, who reached out to us. They have a really cool website and a really cool idea. You know, they put together a backyard course themselves, and they had a lot of trouble finding the designs, finding how to do it. So they kept really detailed records, and they have them available. So if you go there and you sign up for their newsletter, they'll send you the salmon ladder blueprint. So if you wanted to build your own salmon ladder, you can get the instructions right from them. They're really easy to follow. I got them myself. I signed up for the newsletter. Very cool instructions. Great, easy read. So give them a check out. It's NinjaWarriorBlueprints.com. So I wanted to throw a quick shout out or two here. So Andrew Denny, Daniel LaCroix, and Matthew Tortoriello all reached out to us, and through different means, some on Instagram, some by email. Thank you all. Thomas Stillings actually posted an amazing video, which was a really big treat, giving us a really major endorsement, which we really appreciated. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thomas had the fastest time. He was the guy that jumped into the screen when Daniel was running the other week.
Genie guy.
Yes,
yeah.
Genie Ninja.
yeah, thanks, because it was a really cool video, and huge fan. Love the genie pants.
So that was great. And Mike Chick actually has reached out to us a couple of times now. So thank you very much, Mike. He's the lawyer. He was a friend of Jeff Britton's. He actually, what I remember most about him is when he dipped his wife at the end of after the interview.
Yeah, it was quite impressive.
So Mike actually sent us a couple of videos. They're really cool. And one of them was what we're going to make our video of the week. It is his son Parker doing obstacles, and it looks a lot like an A&W submission video, but it's adorable. And the kid's got some skills, man. For the size of him, he's really good.
Yeah, he's talented, man. I mean, you see like the size of the quad steps, and man, he's doing like the jumps, like the gas. He's taking no breaks. He's not doing it easy, man. He's definitely toughing it out. And yeah, I really like the production involved. I think you said to it, like he has a lot of slow motion shots and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, like we watched so many of these videos, and I've seen so many little kids' videos along the way. And usually, frankly, they're a little boring after you've seen enough of them. This one is not. I was engaged the whole time. The music was good. The production was good. It was really great. So I'm going to include that in the show notes for you guys to enjoy as well.
Yeah, I think the key is that his son's actually doing the obstacles, right?
It actually shows him like swinging on the rings, man. I couldn't believe when he swung from one ring to the other. It was really neat.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So that is it for this week. Thank you all for listening in. We actually are going to have Jesse Graff with us next week, which is amazing. I can't wait to record that episode.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, we're going to be covering the LA Finals. So if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss in addition to that, send them in. If you want to ask Jesse a question, we'll try to cover that off as well. Anything you want to send in to us, you can reach us at rich@ninjapodcast.com. We are on Instagram and Twitter. That's at Ninja Podcast. Or you can come by our website. That is ninjapodcast.com. Bijan, what was your social media?
Yeah, hit me up, guys. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Bijan151. That's BIJAN 151.
All right, once again, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Peace, y'all. So yeah, I just want to remind everybody that there is another podcast out there called Final Stage Podcast. They're kind of what we do for American Ninja Warrior. They do that for Sasuke. They're going to have later this month. They'll probably have a really good in-depth podcast covering all of Sasuke. So all the stuff that maybe we weren't able to hit because we didn't know too much about it, they're definitely going to be the experts. They're going to be the people that actually know. And from what I understand, Arsnet, she was actually there. So one of the hosts of that show actually was there and give a much more detailed understanding of everything that happened. So definitely check it out after you check out our podcast, guys.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough, especially this time of year. This is what they do. They know it better than anyone. So they are your definitive source. Please check them out.